right, welcome back to Pints and Politics, episode 43.
43, man.
We're going to go with the Troy Polamalu, or we're going to go with the Dennis Eckersley?
I don't know, man. And Kurt Schilling. Those are, two of guys we sort of grew up with, man. You brought up a good point. Dennis Eckersley was the sidearm ace in RBI baseball for all you old school folks, Nintendo folks. when the players looked like a lima bean.
Yeah,
the graphics
but he could throw
were
it
terrible.
sideways. You couldn't catch up with him.
Except for unless you had Paul Molitor. For some reason, Paul Molitor and the American
Kirby
All-Stars
Puckett
could hit it, but nobody else could. It's like they broke the code or something. But anyway, welcome back. This is our Happy New Year 2025.
Yes.
First edition of 2025. So we did 42 episodes in the first year.
Yeah. It's only 10 weeks, miss.
That's not too bad for rookies.
Nah. Considering that we were having to
you don't even have to light up your American spirit, bro. This fire pit's getting late.
Well, the smoke is killing me. I'm not even having to smoke this.
Get your car right there, baby. But, so Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year to you. Did you enjoy the family?
Yeah. Let's say Happy New Year to our sponsor, too.
Yes.
Comer Distributing, thanks again for sponsoring the episode. Today we are drinking Edmund's Oast, something cold premium blonde ale.
Out of Charleston.
Yeah, man. Edmund's Oast is a good brewery and also restaurant. Go check them out as well. This is our second one. That other one, didn't we have some chocolate peanut butter deal?
I don't know.
Last year around the fire pit?
Yeah.
I think we did. Yep.
Yeah, this is more of a summer tasting.
It's a little lighter. I couldn't figure out the weather, man. This weather this past, 5 days has been, 60, 65, and then the last day or two it's been
And we've got
40s.
a cold streak coming in.
Yeah, it's supposed to get some snow, baby.
Yeah, we'll see if that works.
I know, right? It always
Callahan will be so happy.
Yeah, it dusts, makes it to where kids don't go to school after 2 weeks of a break, and then it never sticks.
It just turns into ice.
But we'll see. So how was your Christmas, New Year?
It was very good.
Y'all stick around here?
Yeah, stayed around here. Had family come in, so we did multiple Christmases, of course. But, the boys seemed happy. Now, we don't do big Santa stuff.
Yeah.
We always do a want, a wear, a read, and a need.
Okay.
So you get to pick 4. But Callahan's want was a dirt bike at 6 years old.
I think I saw you post something about that.
Yeah, so he got him a little electric motorcycle, and he's been wearing that thing out.
Is it a Scout?
No.
That's a little inside baseball.
Yeah. No, I don't know what brand it is. It's some company out of Arizona. I didn't buy Chinese.
Yeah.
But it's an Arizona company, and he's already ready for something more powerful.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. He's getting a little too comfortable on it. You'll see him going up a hill, and it starts slowing down. He starts taking his foot like a skateboard. He's pushing it up more.
Oh, boy. So does he have full body armor?
No, just a helmet.
Just helmet?
Yeah. He's got to fall, man. He just hasn't fallen. Same thing with bikes. You got to fall to
to
really
respect
to
respect the pavement.
Yeah.
What
it's
about
me? I used to ride motorcycles without a helmet and a pair of shorts and a tank top, and
golly, man.
one wipeout, one deer comes out in front of you, and all of a sudden, a little bit of road rash, and you learn your lesson.
Folks riding motorcycles, doing whatever. I ain't doing it. I remember my in-laws had a Harley, and when Emma was a baby, they're like, "Oh, hey, let's get her up and ride it just in the neighborhood." I said, "Nah, that ain't happening." I was like, "It is not going to happen." I'm a worrier, man. So
well, I've had numerous Harleys, and I had Melissa made me get rid of whenever Callahan was born. I had to get rid of my last one.
Yeah.
And the rule is that I can't get another one until they're double digits.
Okay.
I didn't even check to see if I turned my mic on. I hope it is.
Oh.
I can't tell.
Yeah. The producer is producing.
He's got it taken care of.
That's right.
Yeah.
What about Cohen?
Cohen got him a new iPhone. That was the big thing that he wanted.
Yeah.
He went for New Year's, he went up to Ohio with your neighbors. The Hamels up there, and brought in New Year's up there. So took his first plane.
Ohio?
Columbus.
Oh, okay. Did he go to the bowl game?
No,
The one that they hosted? Okay.
no, no. Just up there hanging out with his buddies.
I've never heard of someone like wanting to go to Ohio. I always hear of folks wanting to leave Ohio.
Well, maybe his friend just didn't want to go by himself. So Cole was able to go.
Yeah. And, at that age, man, it's a road trip. Get out of the house, stuff like that. But, yeah, Emma, I tell you, do you know what a scuba is?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because you don't have a daughter that's, in high school.
Is that a Taylor Swift thing?
No. It's basically a hoodie. But they're Lululemon's calling them scubas now. So I guess every other retailer is calling them scubas. And so I was looking at her Christmas list prior to Christmas, obviously. And I had to go ask her, like, hey, what, scuba? Help me out here. What is this? And she was
Scuba
like,
Steve.
And she showed me a picture. And I'm like, what? That's a hoodie.
Yeah.
Why are y'all trying to rename our stuff, man? A hoodie's a hoodie. And she was like, no, but it's
It's
cuddly.
very liberal of her to want to redefine the
So anyway,
definitions.
that's all Emma wanted was scubas, but I'm fine with giving my daughter hoodies. So she got a couple of hoodies. She had gotten a car this year or so. And we dialed back presents just to get we're starting to do a family trip after the holiday. So and we usually now do New Year's Eve out of town. So that's really what we did. The boys, got a couple presents, got some clothes. I know. It's like
My cigarette literally went out from not even puffing on it from the smoke.
hey, there's got to be oxygen to feed that flame, and you're not getting any. But yeah, man, Christmas was good. We didn't travel that much for Christmas, so which I enjoyed. I enjoyed just being lazy, being local, catching up with friends and family, just here around the house, and then afterwards we went down to Charleston, hung out
Very
there,
nice.
celebrated New Year's, and again we didn't do much in Charleston. We rented a VRBO and just vegged out.
I saw you had Emma go through the rite of passage of driving
Yeah.
over the bridge.
Yeah, so I took her to lunch because I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm going to take Emma to lunch. I'm going to have to let her know she's driving over the bridge. And she was like, she ain't going to do that. And I go, ain't a choice. She's going to be 16 in a month. She needs to make sure she knows how to drive.
Yeah.
And she goes, and driving the bridge tells you she can drive. I said, honey, if you grew up down here, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And back in the day with the old Grace Bridge, I mean, those things were metal, rickety.
My mom stopped in the middle of it.
Oh, man. So I did get a lot of responses of people telling their own stories and memories of doing the same thing, crossing that bridge. And Tad knows. I mean, it's very similar. That 2-lane bridge, man, there was, I mean, today's vehicles, like my truck, my mirror would get knocked off.
Yeah.
From, you know what I mean? The lanes were so thin back then.
I just remember it was almost, so my uncle was a firefighter down there, and he had an old Mustang. Mustangs, you always feel like the front's really long anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember he would put on, it was some rock band, and it's like spaceship music. And as he started to take off, like it felt like you were like taking off in a rocket ship going up that bridge every time.
But yeah, so yeah, we had a good time. I mean, I tell you, Charleston's just changing so much. The places where you wouldn't go and walk are now
high end,
just being developed, $1 million homes put in.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's great that
they call that
city,
gentrification.
Yeah. Call it what you will. It's a lot of investment.
Yes.
So
a lot of money going in there.
So yeah, Charleston's always been a beautiful city, but now it's growing up the peninsula. But I tell you, man, I couldn't imagine living down there and dealing with that traffic that they have to deal with. And I think those voters down there just voted down that local penny so they can get some state match to finish up 526. So,
Woo!
Yeah, thank y'all, Low Country voters. But we can use it up here.
I wonder if that'll go into the pork website.
The heat map. But yeah, so we had a good time, man. And through the holidays, obviously we were watching football. A little footnote, man, I had a good year in fantasy. In one league, I finished third, so I got my money back for my team. And then this past Monday night, when I was down in Charleston, I was down by 10 points, and my receiver for Detroit got me 24.
Oh, wow.
And he got me 18 early in the first half, so I knew I'd won the league. And so, yeah, man, so first and third ain't too bad, ain't too shabby.
Yeah, it's the first year I have not played fantasy football.
Yeah.
Since probably the late 90s.
Man,
We used to do pen and paper.
Yeah, correct. The Monday morning box scores and hand tabulation. Right. I don't think I'd be playing fantasy football if I started.
No, but I mean, used to you could get information so much easier. Like you could go to NFL.com and check a score and see the box. Now they want you to subscribe to everything to see stuff.
Yep. But so yeah, did that. That was fun. Obviously, we had a lot of college football going on. Clemson made the playoff after losing to the Gamecocks.
It was a good game. Just couldn't quite hold on.
Yeah, I thought Clemson was going to be able to pull that game out.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just don't think.
Just that defense.
Yeah, I don't think Texas is as strong. I don't know why. Maybe it was because of their schedule. But
they're still in it. They're the only SEC team in there.
They lost to Georgia twice, and so I was like, they're not going to make it.
Georgia got blown out. No, that was Oregon.
Yeah,
Oregon got blown out.
Hey, I tell you, Ohio State, after losing their rivalry game, which was embarrassing, by the way, I don't know what happened. Maybe they needed that loss, but they just took it. They've taken it to Tennessee at home, and, they laid the wood on Oregon. Yeah,
they're going to have to rechange all the playoff format already because the four with a bye week all lost.
Well,
what was it? Joe Paterno never lost a game whenever he had the bye week in front of him.
Yeah, and again, the automatic conference champs getting it.
Yeah,
they need to do away with that. Boise State.
I can agree with that.
I thought Boise State was competitive at least in the first half. I think it was around 17-14.
Yeah,
but then that defense just overwhelmed
Arizona
State. Yeah,
Arizona State. That running back is special.
Yeah, Scadaboo or whatever.
You can't bring him down.
Scadaboo. I know. He's like.
I never really watched it. No, he's 5'9". He's a half-inch taller than I am.
Look, you could consider him little people. Okay, that guy is just a block.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. He is
like,
just.
He's the white nature I mean.
Yeah. I mean, he is as wide as he is tall, and he is just so hard to get down.
His legs are freaking huge.
Yeah. But that game, the lunch I took my daughter to, we watched that game, and it was 17-3. And I'm like, man, this is getting pretty bad where these playoffs aren't competitive.
Yeah.
And then the second half, man.
They had it, too.
Yeah. I thought once it went to OT, I thought Arizona State had the momentum and they were going to win.
Yeah.
But I tell you, hand it to Ewers, man.
Yeah.
He made a couple clutch throws.
That fourth and 13.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In double coverage.
Yes. And then the win in the second OT.
Which their running back, I mean, their wide receiver is really good.
That Golden,
I
think his name. Yeah. He had a big game. Speaking of receivers, Ohio State's, you can just call him number 4.
Yeah.
That kid was everywhere. I don't know.
He's going to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we got one more year of him, and he's going to the NFL for sure. So
speaking of going plates, are you going duck hunting today? Is that why the camo?
No, man. Nope. Why you got to hate on my duck heads, man?
Because you had to hate on my fox hunting outfit.
I wasn't hating, man. I was complimenting you. I was like, like Lord Guffey, man. Like we were ready to blow the horn and hop on a horse.
I just didn't get the memo today. I dressed down for you. That way you didn't feel out of place.
I should have texted you. Yeah, and for the listeners, I'm wearing camo duck head pants and a quarter zip. I am not in the tweed jacket and the Peaky Blinders.
Hey, that hat is super comfortable. That is my winter hat. I used to wear a black suede cowboy hat every time in the winter.
Really?
And it kept my head warm constantly. And Melissa couldn't stand me just going out with a cowboy hat on. She's like, take that thing off. I gave it to the boys to go to a Young Life camp because they had
never came back with it.
Never came back with it. So
so
now it's the Peaky Blinders hat.
Yeah, so college playoff, getting back to football before the insults started getting thrown around. We got Ohio State playing Texas and Notre Dame playing Penn State.
I was surprised at Notre Dame. Their defense, they were very physical.
Yeah. I think Notre Dame,
their quarterback only had 90 yards.
Yeah, Notre Dame took advantage of the transfer portal this past season.
They got Leonard from Duke.
Yeah, made a team. And actually, their kicker who was kicking for them, nailing those field goals? Carolina Gamecock. Transferred. Hey, guess what we couldn't do this year? Kick a field goal.
Well, I can tell you right now, while they might not have the best atmosphere, to go to the money, the NIL money that's going to come from the Catholics to support Notre Dame,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough to compete with.
Yeah. So speaking of that Sugar Bowl game, Notre Dame capitalized on some big turnovers early on in the game. I watched that game last night. Georgia was going right down the field on them. I think it was one of the first or second drives, and they had a safety blitz or a cornerback blitz, something, and came right in. I think it was on ATN, and just launched.
Yeah.
And ATN didn't see him and popped that ball loose on the 10-yard line when Georgia was going in to score, and Notre Dame recovered.
Georgia did not look prepared.
No.
Looked like whenever Clemson played Georgia week 1.
Yeah, and give credit to the defense on another set of a series when Georgia was on their own, like, say, 15-yard line. They had a defensive end just totally beat Georgia's left tackle and just blindsided Stockton,
Yeah.
the backup QB for Georgia. Fumble, Notre Dame recovers the very next play, passing touchdown, and they're up 13-3. And so capitalized on 2 big turnovers there. I mean, that's a 14-point swing. And then to open up the second half, 98-yard kickoff return.
Yeah.
And from there, it just seemed like Georgia was just trying to play catch-up.
And they were coming back. I mean, they seemed to be.
Yep,
they came right back down the field and scored.
But then they couldn't. It seemed like they couldn't convert on the bigger.
Yeah.
When they needed it on a 4th down or needed it on a 3rd down, they just weren't getting it. I tell you, receivers for Georgia, they're gonna have to work on that. They had a few wide open. Bell, I believe, was one of the receivers' names.
Get them Alabama receivers
Boy,
over there.
he could not hold on to the ball.
Yeah.
I think Stockton, again, now Georgia's playing with their backup QB. Stockton launches a 50, 60-yard bomb. This kid Bell is wide open. You know when you're too wide open? Hey, man, hit him in
Get
the hands
nervous.
and he dropped it.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I thought that was going to happen at Arizona State when Scatterbo threw the touchdown pass.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, he's going to drop it.
Yep. Well, switching gears back over to South Carolina, we played in the Citrus Bowl against Illinois, and we had that happen when we pulled the fake field goal thing, and Kai Kroger, who is not a QB, he's a punter, sort of did a rainbow pass, and, our guy couldn't come down with it either, but that was a big play for us. A lot of people were blaming the coaching shenanigans that Belima was doing. I don't know if you watched that game.
I did. I seen where the injury, but it was just the
it's the rule of
taunting.
subbing.
Yeah.
So it's the subbing thing where we had a fast-paced offense. The minute we would convert to get a first down, we'd run fast, and we would sub a player. And by the new rule a couple of years ago, I think when Saban was still coaching Alabama, he bitched and moaned about how his defense on these fast play offenses didn't have time enough to sub out once the offense sub players. So a new rule was made by the NCAA that said you got to give defense time to sub players. Well, there's no time limit. So the minute the Gamecocks would sub a player or two to get in a new personnel package, Belima, the head coach of Illinois, would say, okay. And they do wholesale changes, man. I mean, like defensive linemen, and he was stretching that rule, And then it almost seemed like he was rubbing it in. And then comes the
Taunting.
Yeah, well, what I found out afterwards was they kicked off to us after scoring, or maybe it was, I don't know when it was, but they had a kickoff. Juju McDowell did the T-bar, right, which usually means you're doing a fair catch.
Yeah.
He caught it, threw it to Nick Harbor across the end zone at the other side of the field, and then Harbor ran it out. So what the Illinois coach was saying was he got ticked off because we tried to do some devious stuff, right? Now, Beamer counter was saying, hey, I checked with the officials, asked if that's legal, and they said, yeah, absolutely. So Beamer did the right thing and made sure it was legal, and then we did it. That's what pissed off Belima. Now, at the time when I'm watching the game, I didn't know that. So I'm like throwing, stuff at the TV.
Beamer looks like the girl in the cat memes.
Yeah.
Like pointing and screaming.
Yeah, man, he actually sort of lost it a little bit, but I've never seen another.
I started to respect him a little bit.
I have never seen an opposing coach walk out onto a field and taunt the opponent's sideline.
Yeah.
I have never seen that. I mean, you see it out of players because they're 20-year-old.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he was only on the field because of an injured player, though.
Correct. But as he's walking to his own injured player, he starts T-barring, the whole, Gamecock bench. He then goes and checks on it. He turns and starts spouting off to Beamer because they're, about 25 feet apart. He's hollering something and starts doing the T-bar again, and that's when Beamer lost it, which, sort of looked – I'm not a person who blames refs. I'm not a person – I think you probably could have called taunting by Belima at that point. I don't know why that wasn't called taunting.
Yeah.
But some of their sub thing was going on through the whole game. That was definitely getting under Beamer's skin. It was getting under my skin as well as a fan because you're trying to take advantage of getting a first down, taking advantage of the defense not being ready. And Belima,
but he was staying within the rules.
To his credit, I thought, he stretched the rules as far as they could to get the outcome that he wanted. So I thought we didn't tackle very well. A couple of their
and they shut down. They forced Sellers to throw.
Yeah, well, I think Clemson actually showed the blueprint of how to beat or how to contain Sellers. Force his arm to beat you, not his legs. Now
they did a really crappy job.
Well, no, there's going to be a time or two where Sellers' talent's just going to
166 yards is more than talent. They did a crappy.
No, 166 yards once. He's that talented. But what Clemson did was did a too high safety, try to keep everything in front.
Yeah,
and then they didn't overrun Sellers. They would get to his level and then stop. Right, you don't overrun him, so then the pocket opens up for him to get outside of you. And I thought Illinois executed very similar. I started looking at that game where at some points they even went 3 high safety. They did a 3 down lineman, 4 or 5 linebacker strong safety style, and then 2 or 3 safeties in the back. It was a weird.
I thought Gamecock's defense would have been better in that game.
Yeah. Well, and then you had Emanwari not play the second half. I don't know why.
Speaking of not playing the second half, what about Miami's quarterback?
Cam Ward. Yeah, went in there, got the record.
Yeah, and then come out.
And again, I'm trying to figure out, like, if that was my kid, Emanwari, Cam Ward are clearly going to go in the first or second rounds of the draft. Do you risk a pro career for a game? And again, I don't have the answer. I don't know how I would, if my son wanted to play, was a high-level athlete.
Depends on if you're getting that NIL money. If you're getting paid, you should have to play.
I thought someone put that out on social media that said, look, here going forward, any NIL deals includes all bowl games.
Yeah.
Where you have to play, So I tell you, man, NIL, the introduction of on-the-record money paying players is just a new facet that you can tell college football is adjusting to. Like, we're in the middle of trying to figure out, like, what the hell? What are we doing? Stanford literally now has an AD, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they have an athletic director. They now have a general manager for the football team just to help the coaching staff manage those things. I think you're going to see that become more of a familiar thing.
And now we got Belichick coming to UNC. We'll see how he adjusts.
Is that something where he's just chasing a record? I think he's got, what, is it 7 or 8 more games where he's got to win to get Shula's record of the winningest most wins?
I don't think so.
It's something.
I think he's going there to show that college is easy now that you can pay players.
Well, and then I've also heard
you got Jordan's money.
He's trying to open up a coaching job. His son followed him.
Yeah.
So his son's going to go down there.
Well, that's what Spurrier did.
What? What? I don't even know. His son's not even coaching, is he?
But his son was coaching whenever he was there. He was on staff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He beat y'all 5 times. That, in a row.
Only time that y'all have ever done that.
Hey, speaking of, let's talk about the good old Clemson-Carolina rivalry. The minute we lose to the Fighting Illini, we have a mutual friend. I won't name him, but you know who
Smitty.
You are, punk. Starts going on a group chat of 10 guys just trash talking I can't believe y'all lost to Illinois. I mean, who the hell are they? Well, I don't even know what state they're from. You know, stuff like that. And I'm like, you just lost to Texas, bro. And before that, you lost to us. Why are you talking trash about the Gamecocks? He was like, oh, yeah, but he starts bringing up historical records and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, look, it doesn't matter. The last time we played you, what was the score? What was the score?
I don't know.
Okay.
I got a short memory.
Look, if the
I'm
Gamecocks,
a Republican.
And that's why look, fan bases know it. That's why Clemson, Carolina is so important, right? Because you know your cousin who's the opposing team fan or you and I, you can't say nothing.
You just have to eat it for a year.
17-14, bro, hush. Yeah.
I mean, what was it? Was it 63-7 or something?
17, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, one of them, one of the scores, I remember there was this.
Y'all whooped us 63-17 one year.
No, but maybe it was like 56 to something. But anyway, I would call for months. Whenever it was like 56 minutes to the hour, I would call this person and rag them. I'd be like, hey, it's 56 to something.
Hey, I do want to note for the two viewers, this Clemson fan is wearing a black fleece and a garnet hat.
I got on the
literally, did you lose the bet?
No, I put the fleece on because it's cold. And the garnet hat says "Get Dirty."
Yeah.
Which I guess most would confuse that with a Gamecock hat.
Yeah, so silver lining for the Gamecocks losing down in Orlando is, we've got a lot of, you've been hearing a bunch of transfer portal this. We've been landing a lot of folks on defense, some wideouts and this, that, and the other. Sellers is getting in an ideal deal. Stewart's got a good deal. All, riding high, 6-game winning streak. Should have been the playoff. Well, you lost.
Yeah.
In the Citrus Bowl to the Illinois Fighting Illini, we got some work to do in the offseason. You know what I mean? And so I think that maybe kept the fan base sober.
Yeah.
Because we were.
If y'all would have killed Illinois, then it would have been, we should have been in the playoff.
Correct. We wouldn't be able to walk through doors until the next, August when we play Virginia Tech in Atlanta. So, that's a silver lining is that got a lot of work to do, improving to do. Hopefully the players returning are going to work on that in the offseason. And I don't know. We'll see what we can do next year. We're losing a lot of folks on defense, so we'll see. Hey, and Cade Klubnik's coming back.
Yes.
So.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I wonder what he got paid.
As a marijuana pirate.
What's that guy's name?
Afro Man.
Afro Man. Hadn't heard that in a long time.
Yep.
Oh, speaking of music, Callahan, he's always wanting to listen. For one, he will walk around with headphones without anything connected and singing like he's listening to music.
Oh, really?
He's got like a fake phone.
Yeah.
And it's like he's listening to music and he's singing all the time.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting him an MP3 player.
Okay.
Not a phone or anything, but it's just something we can put music on. He has been blowing it up. But he loves like the old, I had to make sure everything on there is edited.
Yeah.
But it's like the 80s, 90s hip hop stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's got a beat, man.
And then he had some AC/DC on there and he's like, Dad, did you put this on here? I was like, yeah. He's like, I like it.
Hey, so this segment, let's talk about social media over the holidays.
Woo.
I know you could probably fill up 2 episodes with it, but, if there's something that you wanted to sort of highlight on social media, 1 or 2 things.
No, I mean.
Because I know you're dealing with COSA. You posted something about, the Happy New Year and it's bittersweet spending holidays without your son. And
the biggest thing with that one was, so I posted it. Now, granted, holidays are tough for any parents that's lost a child. But I posted it because we're celebrating New Year, and we're at the neighbor's house, just like shooting pool, playing video games, and bringing New Year, and all the kids running around.
Rampage?
Yeah, I was playing Rampage, the old arcade game. And, we all come back in, and then it just kind of hits me, like this is another year without Gavin being here.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. So I made the post saying Happy New Year. Now, that post was revised 8 times.
Why?
Because I can either put at everyone, which I don't like to do, or I could just tag people, and then once it sits for a minute, untag them and re-tag other people. And so as I'm going through all these tags, now I tagged all of the Freedom Caucus members to begin with, but I had additional people and organizations that I was trying to tag
What was your thinking
in
behind
there to just
tagging?
get more people seeing it.
Oh,
Or are you talking about what was my purpose of getting the Freedom Caucus to see it?
Yeah.
Because
members of the House who were in the Freedom Party.
yeah, I mean, my feeling, I think I've made that very clear. I feel like they had the opportunity to show where they stand on protecting children, and they care more about the caucus than they do their cause.
Yeah, right.
And they voted to keep a member that is being investigated for child sex abuse materials in their caucus.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone needs to see that. We could sit here and talk about votes all day long,
Yeah.
but you make a decision like that,
Yep.
that's showing what your true intentions are.
Well, and to, again, we've talked about this extensively, but you go and get voting records on the bills that have consequence, right? And members of the Freedom Party will sit here and tell you that Brandon Guffey's a rhino. I don't know if are they openly calling me a rhino too?
No,
I'm sure.
No. Well, their group from the State Freedom Caucus, the American Action Fund,
Okay.
is they targeted, as far as sophomore members, it was just me and Don Chapman.
Okay, so I know, they will sit on social media and claim that they're ultra conservative, ultra pure, and all these things. But then when you go and look at voting records, the only thing where they're different
Is amendments.
when it comes to voting is some obscure amendments, and then budget.
Yeah.
Just because it's very easy. Listen, you and I'll be the first to say the budget bill isn't perfect
No.
by any means.
But we're not on Ways and Means to sit here
Well,
and
but
pull
also-
everything.
Yeah, but also you got to have you got to fund basic operations of a state, and you also have to govern. You have to look. The budget may be 80% of what we want, and 20% of things that we don't want, but we're going to take the 80% of the loaf.
But what makes it easy is
And
that
they
we
just
have
vote.
a balanced budget.
Right, correct. But they will just sit there and vote no and say, oh, well, we voted no, and they'll pick a line item in the budget, gummy bear
statues.
statues in the Arts Commission, and then say they're against wasteful spending and funding the Arts Commission because you and I voted for the budget. We're for, again, pick whatever social, they're for gay art, or they're for,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, spreading gay library books to kids because we funded, the public libraries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just nonsense.
It's disingenuous.
Well, if we were to do the same thing, we could say, well, the Freedom Party members are against protecting our girls' spaces in our public schools
Because they voted against it.
because they voted against a budget that included a proviso that said boys in boys' bathrooms and boys' locker rooms and girls in girls' locker rooms and bathrooms,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I
if
agree.
we wanted to play the tit-for-tat game of picking just one part of a larger bill like the budget, we could play that too.
Yeah.
But that's unserious, right? And so that's why I was asking about the Freedom Party. Like, well, had they done something that?
No, I mean, it wasn't
but
just
it's
it wasn't
against
just
their
that.
member.
It's
their
COSA
member that, yeah.
and Speaker Johnson holding that bill up, which ticked me off. I mean, it's a wide variety. I mean, Speaker Johnson was one of the people that I tagged on there.
Yeah.
I tagged congressional members. I tagged, anybody and everybody that I thought needed to hear it.
Yeah.
And I want people to really think about that because to me, nothing is more important. We can sit here and talk about budget and everything else. We argue, we watch our federal Congress sit here and give all of this money and go way over budget. So even the most conservative member of Congress If you vote at all for the budget and you're overspending, then you're more of a rhino than what we are.
Right.
Because we actually have a balanced budget.
Right.
Regardless of the money. Now, our appropriations went down to 1%, or half of what they were last year, which I think come out to 1% of the total budget. And people just don't understand it. They like the headlines and the fluff. And what I'm sick and tired of, and the reason that I do get aggressive over this stuff, is because I don't care what you want to try and hit me on.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back at you every single time and say, you had a chance to stand up for kids, and especially whenever these charges come, and you see what they are, you chose not to.
Yeah, I don't understand.
So do you care more about money going to gummy bear statues than you do
kids.
about kicking a member out that is, sending pornography to children and collecting child pornography?
And I've had conversations with some of the Freedom Party members, and that's exactly what I've said. I'm like, guys, look, I don't care. Y'all are so quick. I mean, in the middle of the debate last year, one of their members tagged Riley Gaines, got Riley Gaines criticizing us about the transgender bill.
Right. Saying that we chose not to punish doctors for castrating children.
Right, which infuriated me. I mean, it was very frustrating for me because that banning of those chemicals, that gender affirming care stuff, came through the 3M committee. So I got it on subcommittee. I had all the debate. I had hours and hours of listening to folks tell us that we were crazy to pass something like that or crazy to not pass it. We then got it in full committee and then got it to the floor, and then on the floor was during that floor debate was when all the social media crap started happening and we were getting chastised for not doing something or doing something. And at the end of the day, we passed a great bill.
Right. And it's a bill that whenever we went down to the Family Alliance policy group, it's a bill that they were approving.
They were championing.
To begin. Yeah,
like this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating to me that, wait a minute, during the process of getting legislation out of the House, I mean, literally in the middle of the game, we're getting criticized.
Yeah.
From someone in the cheap seats, not someone in the arena. Well, a few in the arena.
Yeah.
Because they were.
Well, they're the ones spreading the misinformation to begin with.
So,
and that becomes that's where I get most frustrated.
Yeah.
And I don't really care where it's coming from. Even whenever the Palmetto Truth stuff was going out against people, I would stand up. Like, I remember stuff going out against Beach, and I'd be like, this is wrong. This is twisting the narrative. Mm-hmm. This is the same stuff the Freedom Caucus does to people like myself.
Yeah.
And yet, as soon as, all of a sudden, it's like we're the enemy. But it reminds me of the kid that wants to sit there, like growing up. I'm sure everyone had that kid that wants to sit there and run their mouth, or hit you. And as soon as you hit them back once, it's like they're the victim.
Yeah, they go run to the parents.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think when we were talking to friends who are in the Freedom Party, we said, look, you guys are always so quick to shoot first, ask questions later on social media.
Yeah.
Right? Always. But y'all haven't run to social media and talked about the allegations
of RJ.
Correct.
At all.
And that's where you start questioning, okay, what are you really...
Because the goal is more about the caucus above the cause.
Yeah. So,
and that becomes a major problem. I think that we are seeing that on the state level for sure. And like I said, I was on DeSantis' team. It's not that I'm anti-Freedom Caucus. I'm anti-South Carolina Freedom Caucus in the way that they act.
Oh, yeah. The local chapter is different than...
Right.
Yeah.
The beliefs and everything else, I've said it often. I'm a little bit more libertarian than many are, and it makes it very difficult whenever their amendment sounds good.
Yeah.
But whenever you're sitting on the floor and you have to make a decision for the state and you realize it hasn't been vetted, we can all say we want to cure children's cancer.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the fiscal impact behind it,
yeah,
you can't vote for it.
Correct.
Just so they can send out a flyer to say, oh, you're against curing children's cancer.
Well, I don't get on social media that much, a lot less than you. That's why I wanted to ask you, because you'll get into it.
Well, I mean, that was one post that seemed to upset some people. I got a phone call from, I got a text from Adam Morgan that was just like, wow, And I just said, Happy New Year, like in reply. And he's like, get help. I mean that seriously. And then McCravey called me and was like, hey, you know, and this was after the tags and stuff had been removed. But of course, Adam and them were taking screenshots and trying to send it out, trying to make it sound like I'm
Like
targeting everybody that I'm calling them pedos. And it's like,
you're just trying to get the word out.
Yeah, but what I said was protecting pedos. I never called anyone a pedo. I haven't even called RJ May a pedo. You know, I've said about protecting pedos.
Yeah, that's right. What do you?
I don't think I have, like, publicly.
Well,
I mean, we all know what my belief is.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Well, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. And look at the Fed's win rate.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what that lawyer Lori lady was talking about on there, that, you know, the feds bring charges. If they bring 30 and you win 1, you feel like you won something.
Yeah.
But they don't bring charges unless they have something.
Yeah. You know, when you said something about you've never said this, but you've said pedo protector or something like that. That reminds me of that saying of the distinction without a difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, so you know, you and I have talked a bunch on social media. We try to get the message out. That's what this podcast. That's the inspiration. That's what motivated me to want to start a podcast. And you and I talked about it. We're like, yeah, let's do it. Is basically this is just the best form to communicate, right? To our people, to our voters, to our district. If they ever have any questions, they can always go pull tape, you know?
Yeah.
And same thing with social media. You can't delete this stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
It's going to be there.
If someone screenshots, you know, whatever.
Which is why some people tell us this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey.
Especially with some of the things that I say. But, you know.
Look.
I'm going to be me
with
regardless.
The information I knew at the time. I could hear Guffey now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I don't get into too many things online. But one thing that struck me over the holidays that stirred up a little bit of, you know, a lot of people calling me, a lot of people messaging me, was we had a newly elected member, Stephen Frank, go on Twitter, and I don't know, and I'll go and talk to him when we get back here in a few weeks about what his motivation was. I'd love to sit down, have a cup of coffee, and talk to him about what motivated him to tweet out, "I'm just glad we can say the R word again." And he, you know, spelled it out. And I went back and looked, and I'm like, I have no clue why you would tweet out that I'm just glad, you know, that we can say this again. Like, what happened? I have no clue. And so I think politely said, hey, as your colleague, and he doesn't know me.
Right.
You know? So I said, look, I'm a free speech guy. If you want to, you could say whatever you want. Whatever ignorant, negative, hurtful stuff, more power to you. You know? You want to go and say the N-word, say it. Just understand there's consequences.
Yeah.
You know?
And 14% of your voters have special needs kids.
I mean, so to go out and say that was just, it shocked me. Now, again, it didn't offend me in the sense where, like, some people like, oh, my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? I'm like, I grew up in the Sticks and Stones era.
Yeah.
Okay? Idiots can say whatever they want to say.
Oh, I grew up in the era where you punch somebody in their mouth where they have to pronounce it with a W instead of an R.
So I just, you know, for a newly elected member, and Stephen is, where's he from? The Greenville area, Spartanburg area, something like that?
Up there, western South Carolina.
I don't know what he does. I don't know what his professional, you know, I don't know what his profession is. But it can't be something that is dealing anything with public if you're going to be dumb enough to say stuff like that. You know what I mean? And one thing I did.
I can't say anything about people saying dumb things. Like,
No,
I say plenty of dumb things.
Exactly. and that's the way I am. I was just more of, hey, man, as your colleague.
Yeah. I would have at least apologized at that.
You can say whatever you want. I would advise you, or I'd suggest that you not say it, because you look like an idiot saying it. You look like someone who is out of touch with a whole lot of South Carolinians with special needs, families that are impacted by kids or family members with special needs. And so to go out and say that on social media, and again, I don't get in those keyboard things. I did have one.
Yeah, me neither.
I did have somebody respond about this faux outrage, and I'm like, I'm not outraged. Go back and read my tweet, but and I've asked around.
But that's what it is. It's you can't say anything back to anyone in the Freedom Caucus, or they got their certain people that will sit there and come back and try and fight with you.
Yeah, so I look forward to that conversation, and I'm sure he didn't mean anything bad by it, but this is a learning opportunity for him. I don't know if he's ever been elected before, but he is in a brighter spot.
I don't believe so.
Even though I
think he replaced Adam Morgan.
Yeah, but I don't know if he was on city council, county council like you. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if he's ever.
From the intelligence factor that I've seen, I would say no. But
oh yeah,
just a wild guess.
I don't even know which one he is because there were so many new faces. I haven't met.
Yeah.
Well,
I went to freshman orientation. I met him enough to
right.
say hey and shake his hand.
Okay.
But he wasn't there the whole time.
I don't even know. Yeah.
And I wasn't there the whole time.
So anyway, social media is a fascinating, new medium because one thing I learned out of that that sort of back and forth was people can then take your back and forth and then use it for their own causes. Yeah. And, I did have some conversations where people were doing that.
I'm the largemouth bass that will take the bait every time, and I'm coming right at you.
And so, and I talked to some folks who would sort of screen grab that and threw it on their social and spread it around. And I was like, look, you do you fly, you do whatever you want to do. I just want you to understand, my intention is not to embarrass anybody. My intention wasn't to, basically call someone out. It was to start a discussion and a dialogue of, hey, you can say whatever you want, but as an elected official who represents 40-some-odd thousand people, you may want to run it through the editor, before saying dumb stuff.
Yeah. And you get suspended for so much on social media now.
Well, I think Elon's done a pretty good job with the community.
I mean, on Facebook, I got banned one time driving down to Charleston, and my transmission went out, and I said, I just blew a tranny on the way down to Charleston, and my account gets suspended.
No way.
But
are you serious?
Literally talking about the transmission going out in my truck on the way down to Charleston.
Man, I guess that's like an online slur now.
Maybe. I don't know.
Can't even talk about transmissions.
I was like, I went Y. I didn't go IE.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, Lord. All right, well, anything else on social media?
No, I mean, we had the...
Oh, what about we just do it no service if we didn't talk about the online porn coming into effect.
And Pornhub pulling out of the state of South Carolina instead of verifying age, which is good. It's one of the bills that Travis Moore had pushed. Of course, we were supporting from the get-go. We only had one rep that voted against it.
Yeah.
And, I think his
And again, if you listen to Justin Bamberg, even when he was on the floor debating it, I could see where he's going.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not even saying I wouldn't support some way of making sure that these devices are safe, right? I mean, you can't sell a gun without a safety.
Right.
So why are you selling a phone? Why are you selling a iPad that doesn't have a pre-installed, I don't know if it's just software or a hardware where you can make it child safe for a child to use.
Yeah. Well,
but again, then the manufacturers and the companies are going to say, well, I'm selling it to the adult.
Yeah.
That's their
It's the adults to choose whether they're giving it to their children.
Right.
all this other stuff.
But
And if that's the case, just make it all 18 and up.
it's worthy of discussion. Yeah, correct.
Just like we do cigarettes.
And
You know?
that's something to consider too. But they're the folks getting the free access to our kids would never
Oh, I know.
support something like
It's
that.
the way that they spin everything around.
So
And then the other big thing that we had that come out just before Christmas was the Republican caucus announcing the government efficiency, the SC DOGE, so to say.
Yep. Now, one thing that wasn't clear in some of the communications we received was that already an established committee, or does that fall under regs?
So it's under the regs, and it was, the message was just pointing out one bill, which was under Chairman Bradley.
Yep.
But that goal is to eliminate a quarter of the regs.
Oh, correct.
Right away.
The spirit of it,
Yeah.
I'm all for.
But the next thing that we may do may have something else that is about government efficiency.
Yeah.
So it is just the push of the Republican caucus to focus on government efficiency.
I do wish we could find a better partner as far as in that space of AI and stuff. I've heard that we
with Google.
talked about using Google, dumping in our regs, filtering it through AI, and showing what's duplicative, what's contradictory, that we can, basically get rid of 20 to 25% of the regs on the books.
Yeah. Google isn't as bad. YouTube, which I know is part of Google, is a little bit different.
Well, during COVID they were,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Their track record over the last 5 years isn't the best.
Yeah.
And that's just,
Now they have hired.
we keeps it reals here on Pints and Politics,
They did hire a lady, because I had a conference call with Google. They hired a lady from Fair Play, which is a big Thorn, which is they fight to protect kids online, and brought her on just to kind of run that initiative.
Okay.
So she's making a lot of those changes.
So again, I think the intent is a noble one, and we should do it.
Yeah.
100%.
As long as we can.
Still
hold their feet to their fire.
Yeah, I just didn't know if this was all falling under the current House Regs committee.
Yes. Well, this bill is, but there's going to be other bills.
Okay.
So that might be over government efficiency.
So, but we're not creating a whole nother commission.
No.
Yeah. Because I did see someone responding, spouting off about, oh, great. So to be more efficient, we got to create a whole nother government agency. And I'm like, that's not accurate.
It was just saying that this is, since the Department of Government Efficiency is like the term that everyone is kind of following now.
Is DOGE.
South Carolina is already pushing that. And the Republican caucus, through their pillars, is pushing that.
Yeah. No, I like it. And in the next segment, we'll talk about some of the goals that we have as a caucus. And then you and I are just going to sidebar and talk about which ones, we're passionate about or we're really excited to see.
Oh, did you sign on to any bills?
I haven't co-signed on any yet.
Yeah. I didn't either. I figured I'd wait to hear if they got a committee hearing first.
Yeah, correct. So.
Yeah.
All right, but we'll talk about that in the next segment.
All right.
Telling me all night long, gasoline and groceries, the list goes on and on.
All right, rolling back into this last segment, Guff.
Last one.
Man, again.
Who is that country song? Is that considered country now?
I don't know. Shabuzi? is he country?
Between him and Post Malone, can't tell what's
I know.
really country anymore.
I know, right? But yeah, thanks again to Comer Distributing for
Hosting
letting
us.
us enjoy
Yes.
this Something Cold Premium Blonde Ale by Edmund's Oast this week. Episode number 43, the Kurt Schilling or the Dennis
Eckersley.
while you're getting attacked by
smoke.
the fire pit. But yeah,
Them red eyes.
I wanted to let just in this last 20 minutes, we've got a week or so before we get back into session.
Yeah.
A lot of big things on the horizon. We've got supermajorities in the House and the Senate. And
Which we need to clarify something.
yeah,
Because one of the narratives being put out there is that we have had this supermajority forever. No, as we came in as freshmen, that was the first supermajority in the House.
yeah,
So that's only been there for 2 years. And then
In
we
the
immediately
House.
in the House, and we started dealing with the Freedom Caucus split
Yep.
at that time. And the Senate, this is their first supermajority year.
Yeah, that's right.
And I want to clarify one more thing while we're on it, because one of the texts come out talking about us voting for Merle Smith as if he was a liberal or something. But, you know, the person who ran against Merle Smith, which was Chumley, his name was put up. Did he ask you for a vote?
No.
He never talked to me either.
I never even knew he was being nominated, never knew anything about it. This was, you and I talked about, I think, on the episode before we left 2024. I think this was purely a tactic,
It's just disingenuous tactics so they can send out messages.
100%.
If you really wanted to win, you would ask someone for their vote, for your vote.
Yeah.
And explain why you're
But
deserving
it's
of
the
it.
same thing. And I think we talked about this unseriousness. If you really wanted your bill to pass, you'd go around and talk to other members.
Right.
You'd engage in serious discussions, one-on-ones, subcommittees, committees. That's not happening. That's
Right.
not happening. They are talking to their 10 friends.
They can write whatever they want, but if they're not getting people
and
on
they
it.
hatch plans to set traps on the House floor where they can maximize the impact
Yeah.
of a debate, and they do it for the circus and put it on social media. That is your legislature. That is your legislator if they're a member of the Freedom Caucus. That's what they're doing. For some reason, that guerrilla warfare style tactic is what they've employed thus far. We'll see what they do this time. You know, in all fairness, they're under new leadership with our freshman classmate, Jordan Pace.
Yeah.
So let's see what him and April Cromer can do. But from what I've seen
From the past 30 days.
from what we've experienced so far with, and again, to keep the record straight, the South Carolina Freedom Caucus is not claiming responsibility. They're not claiming responsibility for these text messages going out. It's American AAF.
American Action Fund,
It's
which is
American Action Fund, who is a separate group, but closely aligned, right? Philosophically, hold on. But in fairness, and we're trying to, Guffey and I are trying to be fair as we can, because we don't like getting painted with a broad brush when the Freedom Caucus says we're supporting Nancy Pelosi style, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying not to paint the Thomas Beaches of the world, the April Cromers of the world, Jordan Paces of the world, with the politics that AAF is espousing on their text messages. But it is reasonable for some to consider that, come on, man, you can see the coordination there, right?
Well, and to make
And
to
again,
just
we talk
point it
about
out.
this. We talk about this
Okay.
in my one-on-ones with Freedom Party members. I bring this up. I say, come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll try to say to me,
If they
"Oh,
were
well, we got-"
genuine, then James Teeple would have got a text message against him. But since that's Jordan's friend, he happens to be the only one that doesn't get a text message.
Again, suspicious.
Yeah. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
And again, because we have to try to keep relationships with folks in the House, all people, I don't want to paint with the broad brush that they're painting us with. Even though they seem to do it.
They're not painting me with a broad brush anymore. I mean, the last message literally lists me as a rhino.
Oh.
So it lists Don Chapman as a rhino, which has a higher rating than you do. They don't list you as a rhino.
Oh.
You know, I mean, not just you, but the majority of people.
Don't even get me started on these scorecards.
Yeah.
Again, the scorecards are great, right? when you have a legitimate third party that has interest
Yeah.
in certain policy issues or
AFP.
or policy outcomes,
Yeah.
right? But I would always tell voters and tell the two listeners, go in and look at the votes that they're utilizing to give us the score. I mean, and I always joke around, and I joked around with Americans for Prosperity when I got, say, an
A 90 or
88 out of
something.
100.
Yeah.
Because, and I got dinged for the CON issue.
And it was your bill.
And I'm like, it wasn't, but I helped co-sponsor and lead the charge on it because I was in medical subcommittee at the time. And I just really was fascinated by that issue.
Yeah.
But I got dinged and lost, I don't know, 3 or 4 points on their scorecard because I happened to walk out. Sorry about to get air-rated.
Gay air-rated, what?
Air-rated. There was 2 birds that just flew right. Hey, man, the trials and tribulations of doing a podcast
you
outdoors.
do you, I don't know.
Hey, you keep hating. You're just jealous of my pants. But so I actually lost 3 or 4 points on the AFP scorecard that year because I had walked out and went to the bathroom and missed an amendment vote that failed or did something. And AFP thought that it could have improved the bill, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it was just hilarious. So you have to go, and it sucks, but you have to get in the weeds and figure out where those votes are coming from. We got a scorecard where you're considered a rhino, Don Chapman, you're highlighting.
It's because every school had DEI on there without any pulling money out of DEI.
Yeah, right. Well, and I think, and again, I can't even remember what the scorecard was or who published it, but they didn't actually go and look at the votes on the actual legislation. What they went and judged and scored all of us on were amendment votes to a certain bill.
Yeah.
That either passed or failed.
Well, the only way that they come up with the scorecard was they took whatever Freedom Caucus voted for and then looked for things that the majority of the body voted against. So that way only Freedom Caucus members have a high score, everyone else is low.
Yeah.
That's to pad their narrative of a uniparty.
And again, that is, they always say figures never lie, but a liar figures.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. They're going in and manipulating the data to tell you a story of what they want you to hear.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I don't want to do that here. Right? You and I can give the full facts as they come out, even if it's against,
even if we're wrong about
even if it's against us, but
Yeah.
we'll say, look, that was AAF's text blast that hit us in our districts that said we are Democrats and we're voting with Nancy Pelosi. That was not the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, but they are closely aligned philosophically. They do attend similar conferences, and it is suspicious when
similar conferences. Yeah. No, I mean, they were just all with them in Nashville the week before the text messages started coming out.
That is sort of the data. That's the truth of how we see it. And the listener, you can decide.
Yeah.
You go in and look at AAF. Again, what do they stand for?
American Action Funds, part of Young Americans for Liberty.
Okay. You can go check out those groups. You can go check them out. Do your own
And Young
research.
Americans for Liberty is a libertarian group.
Yeah. So for some reason, the AAF group and the Young Americans for Liberty don't want Freedom Party members and Republican caucus members to be in the same room.
And
And again, if you were looking at them separately, the question would be why? What agenda are they pushing, those groups pushing, that they don't want the Freedom Party members back in the room with us, right? Now, again, maybe they can maximize their spend when we're apart.
Well, if they're
together.
getting the money from big tech to begin with.
Again, look, we got 2 listeners
trade
out there.
out
Go
on
do
a
some
vote.
research.
Yeah.
But anyway, but let's talk about policy for this upcoming session. Seeing that we have supermajorities now, both in the House and the Senate, I'm really sort of bullish on what we can get accomplished. I think tax reform is a big one.
I think tax reform, I think that's the first step, but we've got to get the tax cuts too.
Oh, when I say tax reform, I mean personal and corporate income needs to be cut.
Well, the percentage being cut, but I'm talking about dollar amount cut.
And we talk about effective rate versus the sort of the retail rate.
Yeah.
What people see when they go and look up what is South Carolina personal income tax rate. I think right now we're sitting at 6.2.
Going down to 4.25.
But we hear that the effective tax rate is like 3.7. So if we can get the retail rate closer to what the effective rate is, I think that's a step in the right direction. I still would love to cut our corporate income tax.
Yeah.
What are we around?
Well, that's
10,
Act-
10 and a half?
Well, it's Act 388. It goes up to 12.
We're
But,
in one.
yeah,
we're
it
one of
depends
the
on what
higher
the industry is.
in the Southeast.
And that's the reason we have to incentivize.
Yeah, and I think we just need to cut out the. It seems like local governments, like York County Council, and other border counties especially, they have to hand out FELOs or incentives via
Yeah.
FELO packages
To compete with the
to
border
compete with
in
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Or I would say the same thing for those border counties
With
to
Georgia. Yeah.
I think if we can somehow, again, we don't have to get it down to their 6.5, 7, but if we can get to 8 on a corporate income tax, it levels out that playing field for our businesses. And when you talk about business in South Carolina, I feel that we've got to do more for small business, small and medium-sized business.
And cutting that tax rate is the way you do it because small business doesn't get the FELO.
That is right. So I think those are big, just on my personal priority list. Those are big for us.
Yeah.
I know energy's coming.
Yeah, energy's got to be
Yep.
at the top.
Yeah, and you're going to be on LCI, so you
Yes.
can
I still
talk
don't know my
about-
subcommittee yet,
Okay.
but I'm hoping for energy. I actually met with Russell Fry. He got assigned to energy in Congress.
Up in D.C.
So I plan on trying to work as much or as close hand in hand with him on policies that could benefit the state of South Carolina.
Yeah. And we've got to get tort reform done this year.
Yes. We got to get that done quick.
We've talked about it, but I see hopefully sometime in January after the inauguration of the 47th President, Donald Trump, we'll get back and get that done in the House and the Senate.
Yeah. And are you going to the inauguration?
I am not. You know, those celebrations have gotten rowdy over the past few years, and I tend to
One way of putting it.
stay away from the rowdiness.
Yeah. I'm not going I'm not going there. It's too expensive to stay.
Yeah,
So if you don't live in a city where you could take the train in and take the train out, then
yeah.
it's a lot of money.
But I mean, for the two folks who are listening to this podcast, rest assured, tort reform, energy, tax reform in the vehicle of tax cuts, they're coming. You know, I know that is a big priority for those three items. Those are huge priorities for us in the House.
Yes.
And I know in the Senate, you know, the school choice thing went through the courts last year, got struck down. I don't know how that's going to shape out, but, you know, we talked to Senator Sean Bennett out of Somerville in one of our Holy City Brewing podcasts from last year, and he talked about how that court case impacted school choice. The easiest road for that is tax credits, is issuing families tax credits for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just due to that court decision. So I see some sort of legislation that will probably be Senate Bill number 1 to address education. Those are 4 things right off the top of my head. Is there anything else that you see?
I
think we
mean,
gotta do
government efficiency is
Yeah.
huge.
Well, and I'm just
know?
thinking of some bills last year that got left on the table. I think the
Fentanyl. Yeah. Death by fentanyl
Yep.
has got to be passed.
I know, man.
Um,
And we've just made friends and
and
relationships with
I would
families
love,
who've
I
been
mean, on
affected
the
by that.
tech side,
Yeah.
I would love to see the social media design bill get passed, considering it just held up through court scrutiny in California. And there's only 2 states that's passed it. It's California and I think it's Maryland. But the social media design bill that I have filed, I'd love to see it
Okay.
get going because it just held up in court that these companies could not use addictive algorithms, so death scrolling or anything like
Yeah.
that for minors.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Again, man, that's just one of those things that,
Should be common sense.
and I just think it's because it's newer technology, it's not recognized as, and you and I have talked about this personally on this podcast, of parents know to not let your kids out past midnight, and we don't have to go into what else is open, but after midnight, because there's inherent risks of your kid going out running the streets After
So
midnight. No,
hopefully y'all know what is open after midnight.
No. If you don't,
Had to give a wink to the camera.
you can go. You can go listen to the earlier podcast. I think that was on the Jackie Robinson 42 episode.
Yeah.
But
While I was fox hunting.
yeah. But the inherent risk of letting your kid go out and party and run the streets after midnight. You know what risks come with that. Because this is newer technology, these phones and these devices just don't have recognized risks.
They do. The data's there.
But parents,
Yeah. There's a concerted effort.
parents would not have given their 6-year-old kid a device if they had known the addictive nature.
Well, I mean, it's the tobacco battle.
Yeah.
You know, the information was there. Parents weren't hearing it, and you know, it's
We
because
just
of the
didn't have time
battle.
to listen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, most people have jobs, and they don't. People, whenever I say uninformed voters, people think that I am somehow bad-mouthing people. I'm not. That is the majority of voters because you are electing people that you want to use their discernment on making these decisions.
No, that's when you tell them, look, up to 2 years ago, that was me.
Yeah. Still, I mean, but once you're in there and you realize it, and that's what I tell all of my constituents is if you have a problem with anything or if you disagree, don't just post on social media. Like, call me.
Yeah, I know.
Let's have a
I
conversation.
know. That is a
Because
challenge.
I mean, too often my texting, I'm the world's worst. My wife, I can't tell you how many fights have been started just because of the way I reply to her, and she thinks that I'm being rude, and I'm just not. I'm just trying to.
It's not the best way to communicate, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, I you know, text
There's
is not the best
there's
way
no
for me.
tone, and it's just whatever the recipient infers.
I mean, she's to the point where she hates a thumbs up, like I'm being mad or
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
if I give you a thumbs up. Like,
what's with the all?
when did that
What's,
come?
what's with the all caps, bro?
Why are you so short? Busy. What's more important than me?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, those 4 things, cutting out some government red tape on regulations, which we
Yes.
talked about earlier, that making.
I mean,
the
that's been a
state-
goal. Whenever
Yep.
we first came in, we both wanted to be on regulations
Yeah.
for that reason, to eliminate regulations.
100%. So, I'm looking forward to knocking some of those things out.
And I want to see medical billing transparency. I want to see it
Do
come
you
through.
now?
I do.
Well, we passed it last year.
I think it's
in the House.
important.
Hopefully, we'll get it done this year. Yeah, and there's a lot of things that the 3M committee is going to be busy on. I mean, we had some legislation that was just landmark in the repeal of certificate of need.
Yeah.
So now what we're doing is supplementing how that impacted the healthcare market. Right now, you know what I mean? We're trying to give that a little bit of time. And so really right now, we're just trying to get some of the singles and doubles, I think, that really make effective healthcare. Anything to deliver healthcare higher quality to the patient at the lowest possible price
Right.
is what,
With competition.
yes. So,
Wow. This has been fun.
Yeah,
Now
man.
I'm cold.
I know,
The
I
fire
know.
is burned out.
man, that is a good looking
I don't
hat,
have
though.
any more smoke.
Hey, if you need a Garnet Get Dirty hat, just message Guffy here. He'll send one to you.
It's
with
it's
shipping
one of the
address.
few ones that I still have left. I've got,
Yeah.
you know, we sold hundreds of different hats
Yeah.
at Get Dirty. So
And you know, this podcast is, I don't know if y'all always joke around that I always say the 2 listeners because that's what we started with. You know, it's probably
yeah,
a friend of yours and my wife or something. Maybe we have more than 2 now. If you are a sponsor and want to help with some production costs to bring more quality to the show, and
Bring
I
more
literally mean more
listeners.
quality to the show, reach out, DM Tad, our producer. He will hook you up and see what we can work out.
go to PINTSANDPOLITIcs.SHOW.
Yeah, we definitely want to start boosting the show, boosting the reels, boosting this message out. We are just common sense legislators from South Carolina and, you know, want to get common folks involved and informed in the discussions that we vote on.
Yeah, and,
So-
and we need sponsors in order to do so.
Yep. So thank y'all. Thank you again for Comer for the support.
Yes,
And again, Happy New Year.
2024, and here's to 2025.
That's right.
Hey, we got to do a cheers on that. I got
Thank
an
y'all.
empty can, but cheers.
Thank y'all for listening. Be safe.
Thank you.
Being free.